The Forbidden Forest and the Wounded Girl. The forest was not like Earth's forests. The trees were taller, glowing softly with blue veins. Strange noises filled the air, low growls, soft clicks, and strange whispers that didn't seem natural. Ryan, a teenage boy, moved slowly between the trees. His father, a human scientist, had told him never to go too far from the base camp on this alien planet, Veratus 4. But Ryan was curious. He had always been curious, and something today pulled him deeper into the woods. He heard a cry. It wasn't loud. It was soft, almost like someone trying to cry silently. Ryan stopped. He listened. Another sound, like breathing, fast and scared. He looked around and saw a path of crushed plants leading into the thickest part of the forest. Something inside him told him to go back, but he didn't. He followed the trail, pushing away low branches. His heart beat fast. The deeper he went, the darker the forest became. Sunlight barely touched the ground. Then he saw something, a shimmer in the air like heat. Behind a thick root wall, in a shallow cave formed by old trees, he saw her, a girl, but not human. She had smooth lavender skin, long white silver hair, and her eyes, big and glowing pale green, watched him with fear. She held her arm, which was bleeding badly. Her body was covered in cuts and dirt. Her clothes were torn like she had run from something, or someone. Ryan took a slow step forward. "Are you okay?" The alien girl flinched, her breathing fast. She looked around like she expected someone to be following him. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said softly. She didn't answer. She didn't speak at all. Ryan knelt and took out a small water bottle from his side bag. He slowly pushed it toward her. She looked at it, then at him, then snatched it and drank. Her hands shook. "My name's Ryan," he said. Still no answer. He saw her leg was wounded too. She tried to move but groaned in pain. Ryan looked at her face again. It wasn't just fear. There was pain and exhaustion in her eyes. She wasn't much older than him, maybe 17 or 18 in human years. "I can help," he whispered. This time, her lips moved. "Why?" she said in a voice that was barely a whisper. Ryan blinked. "Because you need help. That's enough, isn't it?" She stared at him. Her eyes softened a little. Then she fainted. Ryan panicked for a moment. He checked her breath. She was alive, just weak. He ran back to the edge of the forest, grabbed a small med kit from his father's buggy, and returned, quickly. He cleaned her wounds as best as he could, not knowing alien biology but trying anyway. Hours passed. She opened her eyes again, weak but awake. "You're still here," she said. Ryan smiled. "I said I'd help." She looked at him, studying his face. "You're human, all right?" He nodded. "You know humans?" She nodded slowly. "My name is Lara." The name felt heavy, royal even. She spoke more, carefully. "I am not safe. People are looking for me. I am not supposed to be here." "Who hurt you?" Ryan asked. "My own people," she said. "They want me dead." Ryan's heart dropped. He didn't understand alien politics, but this didn't feel right. She touched his hand gently. "You should not have come. It is dangerous. But thank you." He looked into her eyes. "Will you be okay now?" She hesitated. Then in a soft voice she said, "Come back. When you're older." Ryan blinked. "Why?" She smiled, but it was sad. "Because things will change, and I will need you then. More than now." Before he could say anything else, there was a loud sound in the forest, a deep hum like a ship or machine. Lara stood up slowly, even with pain. Her eyes turned serious. "They are near," she said. "You must go." "No, I can help." "You escape." "You already did," she whispered. "Please go." Ryan backed away slowly, his heart heavy. Will I ever see you again? Cielara's glowing eyes met his. If you remember me. Yes. Then she turned and vanished into the forest shadows. Ryan stood there, stunned. The glowing trees around him faded into silence. The place felt emptier than before. He didn't know what had just happened. But one thing was sure, he would never forget her, and he would come back. 10 years later, he came back. 10 years had passed. Ryan was no longer a teenager sneaking through alien forests. He was now a fully grown man, a trained survivalist, explorer, and elite scout for Earth's Frontier Division. But no matter how many worlds he walked, one memory never left him, the alien girl with glowing eyes. The one who said, "Come back, see when you're older." Most people thought it was just a story, a wild tale told by a curious boy. Even his own father believed Ryan had imagined it. But Ryan knew what he saw. He remembered her voice, her eyes, the way she looked at him like he mattered. That memory pulled him back. Now he stood once again on the surface of Veratis 4, the same planet where he had once wandered too deep. The planet hadn't changed much, still wild, still dangerous. But Ryan had changed. He wasn't afraid this time. He moved through the thick forest with purpose. His boots left no sound. His armor was light but strong. And at his hip, a plasma knife rested, silent but ready. Still, a strange feeling tugged at his chest. It wasn't fear. It was something else. He walked the same path he had taken as a teen. Trees looked older, roots deeper, even the air felt heavier. As he neared the old hollow tree, the place where he first met her, he stopped. The cave under the roots was still there but empty. Just then, a whisper passed through the wind. Ryan froze. He scanned the trees, movement, shadows, not natural. Then, a whistle. It wasn't wind. Ryan ducked, and an arrow flew just inches above his head, slamming into the tree behind him with a loud thud. He was not alone. He rolled into cover, drew his knife, and activated his comm. "Base, this is Scout Ryan. Engaged by hostiles. No idea who they are. Look like locals, but they're silent and fast. I'm falling back to position. Static." His signal was jammed. Another arrow came, this time hitting his shoulder plate, bouncing off with a loud crack. He spotted one of them, a tall alien hunter, face covered, eyes glowing dim red. There were more, circling. Ryan knew he couldn't fight all of them alone. He sprinted, weaving between trees, jumping over roots. But they followed, fast like wolves. Suddenly a sharp pain hit his leg. A stun dart. He stumbled. Fell. The hunters closed in. One lifted a spear, ready to strike. And then, everything froze. A voice cut through the air, sharp, cold, and commanding. "Enough. Leave him. He's mine." The hunter stopped. Then slowly they backed away and vanished into the trees without a word. Ryan, lying on the ground, tried to stand. And then he saw her. From between the thick trees, a tall figure stepped into the light. Her white-silver hair flowed like moonlight. Her eyes were the same glowing green. But now, her body was wrapped in black warrior armor. Her skin carried scars. Her posture spoke of command. She was no longer a wounded girl. She was a leader. She was Cielara. Ryan could hardly believe. You're real." She didn't smile. "Not yet. I told you to come back when you were older," she said. "You took your time." He laughed softly, despite the pain. "You look different." "So do you." She stepped closer, pulled something from her belt, a small healing patch, and placed it on his leg. It pulsed, numbing the pain. Her touch was steady, but there was something in her eyes. A fire. A storm. "I've watched the stars for years," she said, wondering if the boy who saved me would keep his promise. Ryan looked at her. "And I've wondered every day if you were still alive." She stood up, offering her hand. "Come. We don't have much time." He took her hand and she pulled him to his feet. "Where are we going?" he asked. "To the place you were never supposed to find," she said. "The rebels' sanctuary, and the truth." As they walked deeper into the forest, the trees seemed to part for her. Hidden paths opened. Strange lights blinked from tree trunks, sensors, guardians, or something older. Rayan looked at her. "Why me?" She stopped and turned. "Because when I was weak, you helped me. When I had no voice, you listened. And now, everything depends on you." She placed his hand on her chest, over her heart. "There's a secret in you, Rayan. One that even you don't know." Before he could ask what she meant, a loud explosion echoed in the distance. Lara's face turned dark. "They've found us," she said. "We're out of time." She turned and ran. And Rayan followed, into a future far more dangerous than he had ever imagined. But he had come back, just like he said he would. She remembers everything. Rayan followed Lara through the forest, breath heavy, heart pounding. They ran in silence, ducking under low branches and leaping across roots. The distant explosions faded behind them, but the tension stayed like a shadow. The forest, suddenly, opened. Before him stood a tall cliff wall covered in thick vines. Lara pressed her hand against a glowing stone on the rock. A circle of light appeared, and the wall opened, revealing a hidden tunnel lit with dim green lights. Rayan stared. "What is this place?" "A memory," she said. "A secret we've protected for generations." Inside the tunnel, the walls were smooth and black like glass. Strange symbols pulsed along them, ancient alien letters that Rayan didn't understand. But somehow, they felt familiar. They stepped into a large underground chamber. Several aliens, tall, armored, and armed, stood ready, pointing weapons at Rayan. Lara raised her hand. "He's not the enemy. He is the reason I'm alive." The soldiers lowered their weapons, but didn't relax. Their leader, a rough-looking alien with red war paint, frowned. "You bring a human into our heart? After what they did to our cities?" Lara stepped between them. "He's different. He saved me when I was just a child. He didn't ask for anything. He didn't even know who I was." Rayan spoke. "I don't care about your war. I came back because I had to." The alien leader scoffed, but Lara looked at Rayan carefully. "Tell me, Rayan," she said. "Do you remember what you touched the day we met?" Rayan frowned. "You mean the mark on the wall behind you? The glowing symbol?" She nodded. "That wasn't a symbol. That was a lock. And you unlocked it." She led him to another chamber, this one much darker. A massive stone door sat in the center, covered in glowing alien script. Lara touched the edge of the door and a small device emerged. "Place your hand here," she said. Rayan hesitated but obeyed. As soon as his palm touched the device, it glowed bright blue. The ground shook. The ancient door rumbled and slowly opened. Inside was a round room filled with floating orbs of light, swirling slowly around a tall pillar. The air felt heavy, full of energy. Rayan stared in awe. "What is this?" "This is a memory vault," she whispered. "Our ancestors built it. It only opens to someone carrying both blood and bond, human and alien." Rayan looked at her, confused. "But I'm not alien." "No," she said. "But something happened the day you saved me. A soul link. My people believe when one life saves another in a sacred place. A bond is formed beyond blood. That bond is now inside you." She turned and walked to the pillar. It lit up with her presence. Holograms flickered to life. Images of stars, battles, and history long forgotten. One showed a human and an alien warrior standing together side by side, leading armies. Rayan stepped closer. "Is that a prophecy?" "Yes," she said. "It speaks of a human who will return and awaken the old power. A guide to peace or destruction." "But I didn't come here for any of this," Rayan said. "I just wanted to see if you were alive." She looked at him, eyes soft. And yet, you walked right into destiny. Another alien entered the chamber, shorter, younger, and out of breath. Commander, it's bad. Empire scouts have breached the outer forest. Silara's face changed instantly. They're faster than we thought. The young alien hesitated. Also, the elders know he's here. Rayan tensed. That's bad, isn't it? Silara sighed. Yes, they fear humans more than they fear the Empire. They think you'll bring chaos. Are they wrong? Rayan asked. I don't know, she admitted. But I know what I felt that day, and what I feel now. She turned to him. You are not here by accident. There's a reason I never forgot your face, a reason I asked you to come back. Rayan's voice dropped. What reason? Suddenly the room's lights shifted, red warnings glowing on the walls. They're inside the outer cave system, the young alien reported. We have minutes. Silara didn't wait. She grabbed Rayan's arm. Come with me. She led him out of the vault and into a side hall. As they ran, Rayan asked, What happens now? She looked back at him. Now you prove to everyone you're more than just a legend. They entered a large underground chamber filled with rebels, alien, warriors, scientists, and survivors. All of them turned to look at Rayan. One voice shouted, Why is he here? Another growled, Get that human out of here before he leads them to us. Rayan raised his hands. I'm not your enemy. Prove it, one shouted. Silara turned to the crowd. He saved me when I was nothing. He returned when I had everything to lose. If you want proof, let him face the trial of thorns. A hush fell. The same red-painted rebel from earlier smiled cruelly. Let the forest judge him. Rayan looked at Silara. What's the trial of thorns? She whispered, A place where only the worthy survive. And then, the doors opened. The trial of thorns. Rayan stood at the edge of the stone gate, staring into darkness. The underground base had led them here, to a place older than the rebellion itself. The trial chamber wasn't man-made. It was alive. Vines moved on their own. Trees pulsed like they had heartbeats. The walls breathed, covered in thick moss that shimmered blue under the dim lights. Silara stood beside him, serious. This is the trial of thorns. It's not just a test of strength, it tests the soul. Fear, memory, will. Rayan looked into the living maze. How do I survive it? You don't fight it, she said. You face it. Behind them, rebels watched in silence. Some expected him to fail. A few looked curious. Most just wanted him gone. The red-marked warrior, General Tharn, sneered. He'll be bones before sundown. Silara ignored him. She handed Rayan a glowing shard and whispered, This is your only light. Once you enter, the door seals. You make it to the other side, or you don't. Rayan took the shard. It pulsed softly in his hand. He turned to her. If I die in there, you won't, she said quickly, then softer. I believe in you. The gate creaked open with a deep groan. A wind blew from within, filled with dust and old memories. Rayan stepped inside. The gate slammed shut behind him. At first it was silent. He moved forward slowly, the glowing shard showing just enough to see the ground. Thorns grew along the path, sharp and alive. They moved if he got too close. The walls of vines whispered in languages he didn't know. Then came the voices. At first they were faint, then louder. You don't belong here. You're just a human. She will betray you. Rayan shook his head. Not real, he said. Just tricks. But the thorns grew thicker. The tunnel narrowed. Then, he came to a clearing and froze. There, standing in front of him, was himself. A perfect copy, same face, same voice. But the eyes, cold, cruel. The copy spoke. You think you're special, Rayan? You think saving a girl 10 years ago made you a hero? Rayan raised the shard. You're not real. The copy laughed. Then why are you scared of me? Suddenly, the copy attacked. No weapons, just fists and fury. Rayan fought back. The battle was brutal. His double knew every move he would make. Pain flashed across his jaw, his ribs, his back. Blood hit the ground. But then Rayan remembered something. The trial was about the soul, the mind, the will. He dropped the shard, closed his eyes, let go of anger, let go of fear. The moment he did, the air shifted. His double stopped, frozen like glass, then shattered into dust. The vines around him pulled back, revealing a new path. Rayan walked on, bleeding but calm. More tests followed. He walked through tunnels that made him relive old memories. His mother's death, his father's silence, the day Silara vanished. Each step heavier than the last. But he didn't turn back. Then came the final chamber. A wide pit, no bridge. Just a deep drop into glowing thorns that moved like snakes. On the other side stood a platform, and Silara. But she wasn't real. Her face smiled coldly. You should have stayed away, Rayan. You were just a boy with a crush. That's all. Narrowed his eyes. That's not her. The false Silara laughed. But I am the version of her that exists in your doubts. Rayan clenched his fists. He stepped back. Then he ran. He sprinted forward and leapt across the pit, even as thorns reached up like claws. For 1 second it felt like he'd fall, but he grabbed the edge of the far platform, pulled himself up, arm shaking, breathing hard. The false image flickered and vanished. Silence. Then a doorway opened in the far wall. He had passed. The rebels waited outside the sealed gate. Some whispered bets on how long before the human screams would be heard. Others already looked bored. Then the stone gate rumbled, and Rayan stepped out, bloody, bruised, but alive. Silara's eyes widened with pride. The rebels fell into silence. General Tharn stepped forward. Impossible. Silara looked at him. And yet, he stands. Rayan didn't speak. He just stared back at the rebels. He didn't need to say anything. He had earned his place. That night, the rebel camp buzzed with whispers. The human had survived the trial of thorns, and for the first time, many began to wonder. Maybe the prophecy was true. Captured by the Empire, the stars above Veratas IV burned red that night. Rayan sat by. The rebel fire, his arm wrapped in a cloth, body aching from the trial. Around him, the alien warriors who once doubted him, now watched him with silent respect. But something in the air felt wrong. Silara approached quietly. She sat beside him, eyes still alert. You passed the trial. That should have earned you rest, she said. Rayan shook his head. Rest feels dangerous. She glanced at the forest. It is. Just then, a piercing scream echoed from the far end of the rebel camp. Everyone jumped to their feet. Before anyone could move, the sky above flashed. Dropships, dark and metallic, cut through the clouds like thunder. The Empire had found them. Rayan and Silara ran toward the alarm post, passing soldiers grabbing weapons and shouting orders. How did they find us? Rayan asked. I don't know, Silara growled. Unless... She stopped. Her eyes narrowed toward the communications tower. Smoke. The tower was burning. Rayan followed her gaze and saw a figure running from it. One of their own, an alien rebel, was fleeing. A traitor, she whispered. He called them. Before they could give chase, a blast shook the ground, sending them flying. Imperial forces stormed in, tall, armored aliens with laser rifles and glowing masks. The rebels tried to fight back, but they were outnumbered, surrounded. Rayan pulled Silara up. We have to move. But he was too late. An electrified net fired from a drone above and wrapped around him. He hit the ground, gasping as energy surged through his body. Silara turned, ready to free him, but a second net struck her too. They both fell, helpless, Hours later, Rayan woke inside a cold metal room. His hands were bound to a glowing steel wall. The cuffs hummed with energy that burned his skin. He could barely move. The room smelled of rust and fear. Across from him, behind another energy wall, sat Silara. Her face was bruised, her armor cracked, but her eyes still burned with fire. "You awake?" she asked softly. "Barely," Rayan grunted. "Where are we?" She looked around. An Imperial prison barge. Mid-orbit. Too high to escape. Too deep to be found. Rayan tried to pull his hands free. No use. Suddenly, the door hissed open. In stepped a tall, armored figure. The mask was white and gold. His voice was low, cold, and slow. "So, this is the human the prophecy speaks of." Rayan said nothing. The masked figure turned to Silara. "You betrayed your throne for a myth. Now you rot beside him." She spat blood at his feet. The guard smiled. "You don't know what he really is," he said, pointing at Rayan. "Do you?" Silara frowned. "What are you talking about?" he laughed. "You think he's your hero, your chosen one? No, he's your destruction." Then he pressed a button. Rayan screamed. Pain shot through his head. Not physical pain, but deep and strange. Memories surfaced. Things he never remembered before. Dreams of stars, of symbols, of a voice calling his name from beyond space. Then it stopped. Rayan gasped for air. His vision blurred. The guard leaned closer. "The bond you share isn't just emotional, it's ancient. You're carrying something inside you, human, and we're going to take it out." He turned to leave. Rayan collapsed, weak. Silara spoke, voice shaking. "What did they do to you?" I don't know," he whispered. "But I saw something, a gate, a name, something hidden inside me." Silara looked terrified, not of him, but for him. "I won't let them take you apart," she said firmly. "But how?" he asked. "We're chained in a floating prison." She smiled faintly, despite everything. "I didn't survive this long without a few tricks." From her boot, she pressed a hidden toe switch. A tiny spark flickered behind her cuff. It short-circuited. With a snap, she pulled her hand free, then crawled to the wall of her cell. Using a hidden code she memorized from her palace days, she triggered a fault in the ship's wall panel. Boom! A small explosion rocked the hallway. Sirens blared. The lights turned red. "Go time," she said, breaking Rayan's cuffs with a stolen guard stick. He stood, still dizzy. "Where now?" "Follow me, and run like hell." They sprinted through metal halls, alarms screaming, enemy boots thundering above. Silara led him into a maintenance duct. The tunnel was tight and hot, filled with steam, but it led them to the engine bay. Rayan stopped. "Are you thinking what I'm thinking?" She nodded. "Overload the core, crash the ship, use the escape pods." Rayan grinned, bruised but still, standing. "Let's make a mess." Together, they hacked into the controls. Wires sparking, the engine began to whine, a rising scream of pressure. They ran. Just as they reached the escape pods, Imperial guards burst in. One raised a weapon. Rayan stepped in front of Silara, took the blast full to the chest. He collapsed. Silara screamed, dragged him into the pod, and slammed the hatch shut. As the pod launched, fire filled the screen behind them. The prison barge exploded, and they vanished into space. Rayan was unconscious. Silara cradled him, tears in her eyes. "You, fool," she whispered. "You still protect me, and even now." The pod drifted into the darkness. But it was not the end. It was the beginning of something greater. Escape and revelation. The escape pod tumbled silently through the dark void of space. Inside, Silara sat still, holding Rayan in her arms. His chest was burned, armor cracked, but his pulse, though weak, still beat under her fingers. She had wrapped him in thermal sheets, whispering words in her language that humans wouldn't understand. "Don't die now," she said softly. "Not after everything." Outside the pod, the stars drifted by like silent watchers. The wreckage of the Imperial barge floated behind them, still glowing with small explosions and broken pieces. But Lara didn't look back. She only looked forward. Hours later, Rayan gasped awake. His eyes fluttered. Vision blurred. Then, her face came into view. Lara smiled in relief. "Welcome back, hero." Rayan coughed. "Did we make it?" "We're alive. Barely." I jammed the pod signal. "No one's tracking us. For now." Rayan sat up slowly. "Where are we going?" She pointed at a glowing planet now filling the screen. "Verexi 9, she said. "A dead world to the Empire, but not to me." The pod entered the atmosphere. Flames licked the outer shell. The pod shook hard, throwing sparks, then crash. They slammed into the dusty surface, metal groaning as the pod skidded across cracked soil and ash-filled winds. The hatch hissed open. They stepped out into a silent wasteland. The sky was a dull orange. Giant skeletons of machines lay half buried in the sand. Ancient towers pierced the sky, silent and broken. Rayan looked around. "What is this place?" Lara's eyes were distant. "This was once the capital of the ancients. My ancestors ruled from here, before the Empire burned it to the ground." She pulled out a device and scanned the terrain. "But they never found the vault. They thought it was a myth." Rayan followed her through the ruins. As they passed old statues and shattered buildings, he felt something strange, like the ground was calling to him. "I've been dreaming of this place," he whispered. Lara stopped. "You've never been here before." "I know," he said, "but it feels like I have." She led him to a tall, broken archway. Beneath it, a staircase descended into the dark. At the bottom, a massive round door, covered in strange symbols. Some of them glowed faintly as Rayan approached. "This is it," she said. "The vault of the second flame." Rayan stepped forward. The symbols lit up one by one, responding to him. He placed his hand on the center of the door. A loud chime rang out and the door split open. Inside was a glowing chamber. In the center, a hovering orb pulsed with life. Around it floated memories, holograms, ancient recordings, alien voices. Lara stepped forward, eyes wide. "They said only the true bonded could open it. I thought they meant me. But it was you." Rayan stared at the orb. "What is it?" She looked at him. "It's a seed, a weapon, a message, all in one." One hologram began to speak, showing two figures, an alien queen and a human warrior standing hand in hand. "When fire and ash fall from the skies, when old blood fails and new hope rises, the second flame will awaken, and the lost bond shall return. Together they shall either heal the stars or burn them." Rayan looked at Lara. "We're the bond," she nodded slowly. "And the Empire fears it." Suddenly the orb flared with light and flew into Rayan's chest. He gasped, falling to his knees. His eyes glowed white. Images filled his mind. Stars, shattering, empires falling. A great choice. Peace or destruction. Then it was over. He collapsed, breathing hard. Lara caught him. "What did you see?" Rayan looked up. "Everything. The end, the beginning, and us, standing in the middle." Outside, the winds began to change. Back near the crash site, a shadow moved. A small Imperial drone, barely functional, had followed the crash trail. It blinked red. It sent a silent signal into space. Inside the vault, Rayan stood, stronger now. The orb's energy had fused with him. Lara touched his hand. "There's no turning back now." He looked at her. "I never wanted to be a symbol," he said. "But now you are," she replied. "You're the fire they feared and the flame I waited for." Rayan nodded. "Then let's finish what we started." As they walked out of the vault, the wind behind them died, and in the silence the stars themselves seemed to watch. He was the key all along. The wind howled across the broken wastelands of Virexi 9 as the first Imperial warship appeaed in the sky. Cialara stood at the top of the old tower ruins, her long silver hair whipping in the storm. Below her, hundreds of rebels, those who had followed her across the stars, waited, armed, scared, but ready. Beside her stood Rayan. But he wasn't just the same human boy who once wandered into a glowing forest. Now, something ancient pulsed inside him. The second flame, a bond between two worlds, awakened by sacrifice, sealed by fate. He was no longer just a visitor in this galaxy. He was the spark they had been waiting for. "Are you sure you want to fight?" Cialara asked, watching the skies darken. Rayan looked up, calm. "I didn't come this far to watch from the side." "You're not just fighting for me now," she said. "You're fighting for everything." "I know," he replied. "That's why I can't lose." The first wave hit hard. Empire ships rained fire down across the ruins. Rebel fighters scrambled. Ground troops charged through dust and lightning. Cialara leapt from the tower, blades drawn. Her body moved like a shadow, fast, precise, deadly. Rayan moved with her. But something was different. His body glowed faintly. The orb's power now pulsed through his blood. Where his hands moved, old ruins lit up, defense systems awakening after centuries of silence. Stone cannons rose from the ground. Walls shimmered with ancient shields. The battlefield became alive. Deep in the enemy flagship above, the masked Imperial commander watched the chaos. "The bond has awakened," he said coldly. "He is the key. We cannot allow him to reach the core." An elite strike team dropped toward the surface armed with soul drainers, weapons designed to rip the bond from Rayan's body. Back on the ground, the battle grew fierce. Cialara fought at the front lines, keeping the rebels alive. She spotted Rayan across the battlefield, eyes glowing bright, surrounded by fire and dust. He wasn't just fighting, he was leading. Until he was struck from behind. One of the elite Empire soldiers hit him with a soul drainer. Rayan screamed. The device latched to his back, pulling energy from his chest, stealing the flame. He fell to his knees. Cialara saw it. Her scream cut through the storm. She ran, fast as lightning. Another soldier raised his weapon to finish Rayan. But Cialara threw her body over his, taking the shot herself. She collapsed beside him, gasping. "No," Rayan whispered, reaching for her. "You still have the flame," she said. "You still have time." Tears ran down his cheeks. "Don't say that." "You were never just the key," she whispered. "You were my hope." She closed her eyes. The flame inside Rayan burned hotter than ever before. Something awakened. A pulse of golden light exploded from his body, throwing back the attackers. The soul drainer shattered. His wounds closed. He rose, his body glowing, his voice echoing with something ancient. The battlefield paused. Even the Empire's machines hesitated. Rayan's voice boomed. "This ends now." He raised both hands. The ancient machines across Virexi 9 obeyed him. From beneath the ground, giant constructs emerged, massive war guardians, long buried. The Empire panicked. Rayan walked forward, eyes glowing white-hot. With a wave, he disarmed dozens of soldiers. With another, he repaired the rebel lines. He moved to the front, stood atop the broken ridge, and shouted into the sky, "You tried to control fate, but fate chose me." The Empire's flagship charged a final weapon, enough to destroy the planet. Rayan looked at Cialara's still body, bent low. "I will not lose you," he whispered. He ran to the heart of the battlefield, where the energy core of the old city still slumbered. He placed his hand upon it. The ground cracked. A beam of white fire shot into the sky. The Empire's ship exploded, ripped apart by ancient energy that only he could summon. Silence followed. Dust cleared. Rayan collapsed beside Cialara's body, tears falling, but then her hand moved, eyes opened. "You did it," she whispered. "No," he said, smiling. "We did." Later, beneath the stars, the rebels knelt before them. See, Lara and Ryan stood together, her hand in his. Two worlds, two hearts, now one bond. The war was not just won, it was ended, and across the galaxy, the legend spread. A boy once saved a wounded girl, and returned to save an entire world, because he was never just a visitor. He was the key all along.